Danielle, you have a blog about emergency funds. I did some research, so sorry. And you have a blog about do's and don'ts. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay, so from my recollection, emergency is an emergency. It's when it was not planned. If my car breaks down, that is an unexpected planned emergency, okay? That means you know your car needs repairs, so you actually should be budgeting for that. It sucks. I know it sucks, but it's something that you cannot be like, I'm just gonna dip into my emergency fund and do, because it's not really an emergency. So that like is a big thing for me.
So you have an actual account for splurging and an actual account for emergency?
I actually have 11 bank accounts. So that's 11. It's probably gonna be more soon, but that's how I budget. I budget by bank accounts because I don't want to think about it. Everything has a job, and it's automatically taken from my direct deposit and pushed into that bank account. So I have one for my mortgage, one for my car payment, one for my insurance, one for groceries. Because I don't want to commingle funds. I'm horrible with commingle funds. So I have every account has a purpose. Every dollar has a purpose. And I mean, I tell my boyfriend all the time, I'm always broke, but that checking account that I always spend on a daily basis is always down to zero. But I have money everywhere in different places. So that's kind of how I budget.
And Carmen, I know you have a whole system.
Oh, my
your cash envelope. So can you talk a little bit about your cash envelope?
Yeah, so I do the zero-based budget. So before my check even comes into my bank account, I spend all of it. And it's actually pretty fun if you think about it that way. You're spending all of your money ahead of time, so you know exactly where it needs to go. So it is technically a spending plan. You're just putting it to certain places. And a budget doesn't necessarily mean it's so restrictive. You can have a line item for shoes for that month, or you can have a line item like for fun money for whatever, coffee even. I tell a lot of people, you could put that in there just as long as you're budgeting and allocating the money to a budget category for every single dollar of your paycheck. So what I do is I have a spreadsheet. I set it up. I budget kind of overall for the overall month, but I do it to the 2 paychecks that I get every month. And I put that money up at the top. The first item that comes out of that is savings. That is the number one, that is the biggest bill that needs to get paid, the number one priority on my budget. And I think of a budget as a priority list for your money, like what's important. And that needs, whenever you're setting up a budget, I always tell everybody that you need to prioritize. So what comes first? Savings, and then a roof over your head is going to probably be the next thing. And then down the list. So what I do is zero base, put my income up top, take out the savings, and then I do rent, food, utilities, so on and so forth down the list until I zero it out. There's no more money left to spend, and then that's how my budget, that's how I spend my paycheck. And I determine this is very old school, but I do a cash budget. So any categories that I can pull out cash for, that's what I do, and I have that money, and once it's gone, it's gone. Like, that's how I budget. So if I want a line item for coffee and I allocate $25 for that from that paycheck for the first part of the month, and I spend it in 3 days, then I don't get no more coffee, and I got to make it at home. It has to be incorporated in my budget. So yeah, so that's how I do it. It's restrictive in that way, but again, you set up the plan. So if you want to spend coffee money, or you want coffee money, you put it on there. If you want shoe money, you put it on there. No one's saying that you can't do that.
But you also take away from other things.
Right.
So that's the thing. If you want to do shoe money, you might not be able to save for a house or a car or something like that. So yeah.
I want a question about you. You say you have 14 bank accounts. 11. Oh, sorry. I was just. I think it was 24 accounts. I just. My question is, where do you keep your emergency fund so you can get at least like some little interest, like in your favor? And how do you keep up with the fees from your multiple bank account that you have?
So I do have Chase, and Chase is very fee heavy. So I only keep like my daily expenses in there, and I have a student account or something like that. So I have a checking and a savings at Chase, and everything else is at Ally Bank, and everything else is an online bank where there's really virtually no fees. I'm more credit card based, so all of my spending is on credit cards. So I don't carry cash, and I'm not going to the ATM. So all of my other bank accounts are at Ally Bank, and they're just linked to my credit cards, and they just get paid every month. So that's how I do it.
Yes, so just going back into the banking question, there's so many different options, there's so many different ways. One of the things that I'm hearing from you is basically this is a lot of discipline for the most part. It's all about discipline. However, with that, like, I see all these different, there's new apps that's coming out. But even if it's FDI secured or insured, I'm still a little weary because it's not a person, it's not a brick and mortar place. So how do you, in your experiences, can kind of talk to that? As like, you have Chase, which is brick and mortar, and then you have this online thing. Just your experiences in that.
So for me, the more touch points means the more fees out of my pocket. So I want to go with the place that has the least amount of fees, least amount of touch points. All these apps are making it so much easier for you to be able to manage your money. And for me, I want to take advantage of that because now money is so much more accessible. Knowledge is so much more accessible. So going to Chase and they're like relentless. They will come after you. Why? You don't my money should be working for me, not you stealing from me and, charging me when I don't even know what's going on. Because most of the times I don't. And for me, I'd rather go with Allie or somewhere online. I don't need to see a person, but I will call you hey, you better have a 24/7 call. And I utilize that. So that's what I do.
And I've actually had, a good thing about the online accounts, and a lot of millennials people in general aren't taking advantage of this. They do offer a higher interest rate on your savings. So if you are not earning if you're not, the savings rate isn't commensurate with the inflation rate, you're actually losing your buying power. Yeah. So the fastest way that you can catch up with that, I think, is personally is through online accounts, which we're seeing like Goldman Sachs, the Marcus account. That's something that I had. I had ING then it turned into Capital One. Yeah. So I had that. That was my actual first online savings account. And I actually haven't called any of these banks. Haven't called any of them up. They've been working seamlessly for years. So for me personally, I think the human aspect is great, but so far, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And it's been working all right. And if you can capture that interest, that 2%, whereas Bank of America is offering you 0.0000012, then you might as well, try to get your money to work for you, because as soon as you overdraft, you're gonna get a $35 fee anyways. So. Yeah, and the monthly, all of that. So it's just something to be mindful of.
We'll take one more question and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Now that you all are out of debt, what are your new goals for your financial life?
Yeah, my goal for such a long time was to get debt free. And the whole reason why I wanted to do that was to get to zero, right? I hated living in the red and the negative. And beyond the zero, I wanted to actually have green. I wanted to have positive account balance. So now my goal is to have as much net worth as possible. And so in order to do that, I have to constantly be maximizing my earning potential, constantly thinking about my human capital, not just my financial capital, because right now I can make a certain amount of money given my skill set that I have now. But in 10 years, let's say, when cars are driving themselves and certain people, what will my earning potential be then if I don't have these certain skill sets? One I'm really working on right now, aside from my money, is computers. I need to get better at computers. I don't know even basic coding. This is horrible. That's my 2019. I need to get on this HTML, C++, something. The fact that I don't even know if those are the current terms is I need to just get on some kind of basic computer level, because obviously technology is the future. And so we need to start to, become aware of what are the things that we have to be more privy to in order to be successful financially, but also just in terms of being happy. If you don't have the money to support your family, that leads to depression, all kinds of unwanted living circumstances. So for me, thinking not just about my financial goals, but obviously my financial goals, just really double my net worth, then triple it, then double it again, just really trying to maximize that. And then on the other side is my human capital. How much am I bringing to wherever I go? What's my value, and how can I keep increasing that?
So I think I'm a little bit different, because after I bought my house, I had no goals. And
Done. Got my house.
I was just exhausted. I just paid off debt. I bought a house. I made all these repairs. For a long time, for a year, I just had no goals. And I kind of felt bad sometimes about it, but eventually I said to myself, you know what? It's okay, because I did so much to get here. So I'm just going to be good. Now, I am on a FIRE journey, which I'm working towards financial independence, to retire early. And I don't want to, I don't want to be tied to a 9 to 5 forever, but I do want to take advantage of my earning potential as well. So now I have goals, and I have my emergency goal, like which I talked about. You know, I have more, but for a long time it was just nothing, and that's okay. I think that's okay too.
Because you reached your goal.
I did.
And quickly, I think my goal after even doing research just before coming to this event, I think one is definitely to increase my net worth. So my immediate goal is 3 to 6 months an emergency fund. And then we're looking to purchase a home very, very soon, sooner than we had expected. But more so now, create that generational wealth. So whatever I do going forward, I need to make sure I'm putting the best foot forward for my future kids, for my nieces, my nephews, the people that are coming after me, to make sure that I'm going to leave something. Because after reading all the statistics around how much people of color, the gap is widening to where it's going to be non-existent in 2053, it's very sad. And a lot of people think that we are doing better now than we ever have, and we're actually doing worse than we ever have. The median net worth has now fallen for Black households to $2,000 relative to $116,000 for any white household in America today. So my goal, my personal goal, is to increase my net worth and my footprint for generational wealth building.